While there's been much celebration on the Democratic side of the swearing in of the most diverse Congress ever, on the Republican side, it's just more confirmation of what they've long feared. It was said best by Reince Priebus in 2013, pre his Trump job when he was head of the National Republican Party.
By the year 2050, we'll be a majority-minority country. And in both 2008 and 2012, President Obama won a combined 80% of the votes of all minority groups.
But as Van R. Newkirk writes in The Atlantic, the GOP's motto was don't mourn, organize. And organize they did through what Newkirk identified as an election marked by gerrymandering, voter suppression, and state legislative power grabs, all in an attempt to ensure that the control of older white men, the party's base, could be preserved with this master plan. For example, when former pollster Kellyanne Conway released findings that an anti-immigration message could serve as a GOP base builder in 2014, Republicans went all in, a road that led us to the penthouse at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. Changes are happening at the state level, too. Like when two Democrats beat their Republican opponents in Wisconsin and Michigan, and both outgoing governors signed bills passed by GOP legislatures during the lame duck session that severely limited the powers of the new attorneys general and governors. That's not the only instance where the will of the voter was completely ignored. Remember when Republican candidates like Rick Scott made this claim during the election recount in Florida?
Senator Nelson is clearly trying to commit fraud to try to win this election.
Then Trump doubled down with this evidence-free tweet where he said, quote, many ballots are missing or forged. Ballots are massively infected. Even Scott's own state election monitors acknowledge they saw no evidence of those claims. And then there's the issue of extreme gerrymandering, which has long been a problem, especially since the GOP's Red Map project began in 2010, with the goal of creating, quote, new Republican congressional districts through the redistricting process and solidifying a Republican House majority. The new maps they drew, Newkirk argues, preserve clear advantages for the GOP, often through mechanisms that federal courts found purposely diluting votes of people of color. As a result, most racial gerrymanders were struck down, but the court said nothing about targeting voters by party until now. On Friday, the Supreme Court agreed to look at whether the Constitution bars extreme partisan gerrymandering in districts that are so warped they led to results like these in the last election, where Democrats who won majorities in statewide elections in Pennsylvania, Michigan, North Carolina, got fewer than half of the seats in their state legislatures. So, as you rail against voter suppression, political gerrymandering, the wall, and a broader anti-immigration agenda, remember that the sum is far greater and more worrisome than the parts.